Okay, people come up with the silliest solutions, or they latch on to the silly solutions that other people come up with. This guy gives me this article off the internet at work, chronicling what they think are the solutions, well, the problems and the solutions with the current to the current energy crises that we have. And we'll skip through what all they say, and they seem to have their heads screwed on straight at first. They're adjusting numbers for inflation. They note that, you know, this is barely actually the all-time high when you adjust for inflation, when people are screaming that it's the highest by far that it's ever been. But they still get it wrong in the end. So there are a lot of problems with why they think certain solutions won't work. But we're going to skip through those, and we're going to go to the ones that they do think will work, okay? And you'll see how silly these things are, even for their own goals. More domestic oil production, they say won't work. More imports from the Canadian tar sands, won't work. U.S. oil shale, won't work. Ethanol, won't work. Okay? Although that's what they've been saying for years, you know, more production is not going to do anything. Okay, so they're wrong on domestic oil production. That would help. More imports from Canadian tar sands would help. More U.S. oil shale. I've heard that's profitable at $75 a barrel. They can get that easily right now. Ethanol won't work, and that's right. It's a what am I trying to say? The government's picked that out of the lot and crowned it the champion of the biofuels. Plus, it makes food more expensive. Hydrogen fuel cells, they say won't work. They're right about that. It's too expensive. It's many, many, many years away. Talking about 60 years away. Twist OPEC's arm to increase production. They say that won't work. Although if they did increase production significantly, it would have an effect on the price. But we don't need to depend on that as a solution. Coal to liquids. I've heard there's promise in this. I don't know enough about it. Woods to liquids. I have not heard about that as being any type of viable solution. I don't know, and they say it won't work. But now let's take on what they do want to start at. They say hybrids. Oh, right on. More gasoline electric or diesel electric hybrids are a good idea, as long as the extra efficiency is being put into high mileage, not greater vroom. The real goal should be plug-in hybrids. We should be pouring billions into the research and infrastructure necessary to make plug-in hybrids a reality. Well, first of all, these environmentalists are very dictatorial. They want to tell you how you should live your life. They don't just believe that, you know, living green is just for them. They believe it's imposing it on everybody. So what if you want a car that gets more vroom? What if you could put extra efficiency and use the same gas mileage as you do now, but get more power? They don't want you to do that. They want all of the extra efficiency to be put into high mileage, not more power. So they start out with that. So the real goal should be plug-in hybrids. We should be pouring billions into the research and infrastructure necessary to make plug-in hybrids a reality. What they mean is that the government should be taxing you enormous amounts, and the government spending money on making this stuff available to the public, whether the public really wants to demand for it, has demand for it, or not. Okay, so that's two problems with it. But the biggest problem with this plug-in hybrid solution is that plug-in hybrids, is using electricity. What's the number one source for electrical energy? It's burning coal. Burning coal. A fuel that is even dirtier than fossil fuels. And so, why would the environmentalists be for plug-ins? Excuse me, I'm very popular. Why would they want more of that? Because they're silly and they don't think. What they do is they hate capitalism and they hate business. And so, you know, they want to do anything but oil because they hate oil men. He brings a great product to the market and they hate him. So they'll do anything, including cutting their own throats, to get rid of the oil men. It produces more coal usage, guys. Electricity, more electricity. If half the cars in America went to plug-in hybrids, you know, the burning of coal would increase. I wouldn't be any happier with that, but they're too stupid to think 2 steps forward. Higher fuel economy standards. Oh, this is a must. All new cars should be held to an average of 40 miles per gallon by 2015, with intermediate milestones required between now and then. Ignore the whining of the car companies. It's insanity that we have waited so long to do this. Well, what they mean is ignore the voice of the consumer, who the car companies are trying to please, who may or may not want cars that are more fuel efficient, because most of the time that means a smaller vehicle. So that's why the car companies are whining, and of course they want you to ignore that. What they want is better than what all the millions of consumers of cars want, and so we should impose their standard onto the rest of us. But getting past that, higher fuel economy makes driving cheaper, so therefore people do more of it. So you get no net reduction in the consumption of gasoline. In fact, some people may feel even greater freedom than they're actually getting from the reduced gas mileage, and they may actually overdrive, and they may actually drive so much more as to, in fact, increase their net consumption rather than seeing a reduction in net consumption. So when something is cheaper, people do more of it, whether it's buying oranges, going to baseball games, or driving your car. So, you know, if Yankees tickets weren't $100 a piece, you know, you could get Yankees tickets for $2, people would go a lot more often, and a lot more people would go, and they could, you know, fit 1 million people in the stands every night. If driving is cheaper, people are going to do it more, you silly environmentalists. They're going to do it more. You're not even going to get what you say you want, which is less gasoline consumption, less oil. Mass transit. Oh, absolutely, they say. We should be rebuilding our freight and passenger rail systems, expanding subway systems in major metropolitan areas, reinstating trolley systems, and reinvigorating bus service. Right now, such initiatives all no doubt seem yawn-worthy to the car-happy masses, but they will seem eminently sensible when gas prices hit $6 per gallon and gas lines come back, which they will. They say we should be rebuilding our freight and passenger rail system, expanding subway systems in major metropolitan areas, reinstating trolley systems, and reinvigorating bus services. Now, what they mean when they say we is they mean that you should be taxed, and that governments should rebuild the freight and passenger rail system, expand the subway systems in major metropolitan areas, and do all this other stuff. They say right now these initiatives seem yawn-worthy to the car-happy masses. Well, see, that's an insult to us. We love cars. We're polluting the environment. And so they want to put their vision of everybody with a bus card onto everybody, when some people may prefer to drive a car. And what I put in my notes here is that it actually costs more to travel through quote-unquote public transit because it's publicly funded. The consumer is paying 2 costs. The cost of the transportation plus the tax that it took to build the infrastructure and to have the service available in the first place. So the real problem is lost gas because of idling due to limited highway capacity. Nobody considers that the biggest consumption of gasoline is oftentimes set idling in traffic. And of course, our highways are maintained by the government, which knows nothing about responding to market incentives and initiatives. And so anybody that knew anything about markets would increase the capacity of the product that is so highly in demand. And that is our highways. Our highways and motor vehicles and passenger vehicles are a great, convenient, comfortable way for most people to travel, and most people love to do it, and they would like to do it in greater and greater numbers. And the best way to reduce consumption is not to build these subway systems that go bankrupt because nobody uses them, and try to force people to use something that they don't want to use. The way to save more gasoline would be to expand the thing that's already there that people are responding to, that people love, and expand that and make it more convenient and make it to where they could use less gasoline using the service that they already have proven that they enjoy so much, and that is the highway system. But they want to set up these railway systems that always fail because of lack of use, and they're a huge burden to the taxpayers, and they leave the roads unimproved and unexpanded, and people sit there and idle and use up gas that way. So it's totally ridiculous. Environmentalists, like all other statists, always are fighting against their own means. Silly, silly energy solutions.